Welcome to another podcast. This one is extra special because not only is it my first interviewed podcast or shared podcast, but I have one of my favorite people in the whole entire world, my brother David. Welcome, David, to the podcast.
Hey, thanks. Nice to be here.
You're looking good, man.
Thank you.
You're looking fit.
I'm trying to be.
And that beard is something amazing.
Yeah, I'm thinking I shave that real soon here.
For those who are just listening, we're also trying to record this and put it on a YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel as well. So I apologize for any background noises you may hear. My kids are home, so it could get a little crazy in the background. But otherwise, hey, let's get right into this thing. I told David I was going to put a question out on Facebook because we were trying to figure out what kind of questions I would ask him today. And I wanted to give him some softball questions too. So I wanted to let him know beforehand some of the things we might talk about. But of course, I want to throw in a couple fastballs and ask him some things he wasn't ready for. But looking on here, what's that?
I said, we'll see how I do here.
Yeah, well, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, Dave. Who are you?
I am a husband and father. Husband to Julie and father to 6 boys. I have a daughter-in-law now, which is fantastic, and a grandson. And he's just as cute as can be.
You're a grandpa. You're a grandpa.
Absolutely.
And you are old.
And loving it. Oh, absolutely, I am. And feeling every bit of it.
Oh, are you? Oh, man. You're awesome, dude. So 6 kids. You know what? That actually brings something up here because Ivy Van Dusen on Facebook, she said, how do you balance being a husband, being a father of 6, working, and being active in your church? Seems like so many things.
I don't do a very good job, I don't think. Is that a hard one or is that a soft one? That's probably a soft one that I'm just, I see my old age is getting to me. I don't know. I guess I balance it this way. I try and do what the Lord would have me do first. And so I guess what I think he would have me do first is try and be a good husband, which a lot of times I fail at. I try and be a good father next, which a lot of times I fail at. And then I try and serve others, which a lot of times I fail at. I don't know if I'm successful in any of those, but I try. I know I'm happier if I put other people's needs and wants in front of my own.
No, I think that's a key. I think trying, right, and not giving up and constantly trying, that's succeeding in my book, right? It's when you stop trying. I think that's.
Well, in that case, I'm a success.
Yeah, you're a success, man. Yeah. In fact, you know, it's funny. That kind of mom, your mother, our mother, she sent me a message. Let me read what she said in here. She said that somewhere, maybe she put it on Facebook actually. Other than this one, she did say when David was young, he wanted to grow up to be the Incredible Hulk.
Still do.
He said he certainly grew up to be a pretty incredible, even if he's not green. So she thinks you're incredible.
Well, thanks, Mom.
So did you really want to be the Incredible Hulk?
Yeah, I'm sure I did. I remember wanting to be 5 too, and I was able to hit that pretty good.
Be what?
5.
5. Oh yeah. Hey,
yeah.
You breezed right over that one.
I nailed it, man. I nailed it.
Years ago. No, this is the one I was thinking of. She said, one of the traits I've always admired in David is that he is genuinely happy when others succeed or do well.
Absolutely. I do. I mean, I like watching other people have success. And my kids make fun of me because, you know, I'll watch these reality TV shows and it's those stories that kill me, man. I start bawling like a baby, man. I do.
Well, I can attest to this because growing up, David was a little older than me. When I played football, David was like my biggest fan. I always felt like no matter what I was doing, if David was in the stands, he makes you feel like $1 million, right?
Oh, thanks, man.
And just the support Dave's always given me no matter what. It's not, some people, when they see somebody else have any success at all, it kind of makes them feel less about themselves for some reason. You notice that? So some people are afraid to cheer on somebody else's successes because they maybe feel like it's a reflection on them that they're not as successful or something. And so they're afraid to do it. But people like David have this gift of making you feel great about yourself, right? Even when you're not that great. So I think that's a huge quality you have, Dave. I think that's a really good thing that Mom brought up.
Thanks, Mom.
How do you do that? Why do you do it? I mean, you must feel confident in yourself. You must feel.
Oh, I don't know if I do or not. I don't know. I really don't know. I genuinely like it when people succeed, when they overcome things. I know that there are things in life for me that are super hard. I mean, super hard. I don't want to go out and do, but when I do, I feel better about myself. And so I guess I translate that to others as well. I want them to feel that because it feels so good when you overcome. And even the little things need to be celebrated because sometimes we get forgotten, or they get forgotten, I should say.
Oh,
But thanks for that. Good. That's really nice.
Yeah, no, Mom mentioned that on here, and I thought, man, that nailed it. That nails it. Dave's awesome at that. So there's some funny things on there. I'm going to go through a couple of them, just the Facebook ones.
Okay.
Did you get a chance to look at any of these?
Facebook again? No, I don't get on Facebook, but.
Well, Hunter threw this one out here. How come? Ask him why he's the only bald Olsen.
Well, like I tell my kids, Hunter, the way the hair works is that the bigger brain, the more you use in the brain, it burns the hair follicles from the other side. And so obviously I'm the only bald one in my family. What is it about this guy right over here that has all that hair versus this guy that has none?
That's a good point.
Think about it.
That's a good point. Although I think you're a little off. I think you're a little off on your science. Yeah, I think it has something to do with white hair. But no, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been proven somewhere, Ryan. I'm sure.
I told him on there to ask Grandma. You know, I thought I was.
You know, the funny thing is we have one uncle on Mom's side, her uncle, I guess, that is bald. Everybody else on both sides has a lot of hair. And yeah, I went through a time where it was hard, but now I'm old and it doesn't matter now. I feel like the prophets, right? A lot of them are bald. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think you look fantastic. And same thing, you know, when you go white, it's the same way. You didn't go that white. Let me see. You have a little white coming in now. Your beard looks great though. Yeah. And Mom's comment yesterday about me having a white beard with some black. I don't know what she's talking about. I just have some scruff. Anyway, very cool.
You know, I do pride myself on this, and I'm going to throw my entire family under the bus. Is that, yes, I might be the bald one, Hunter, but I'm the only one who has yet to dye his hair.
I was waiting for that to come. I knew that would be your throwback in my face if I even mentioned that, but no, so true. Mic drop. That's funny. Okay, let me go through here. Zachary wants to know who your favorite one favorite child is.
Yep. Zach is my son.
Yes,
he is my one newly returned missionary from California. How do I say this without? Out of all the missionaries that have returned from California in my family, my favorite one.
Wow. That's some high praise, Zach. Mm-hmm. That's some high praise.
Of course, everybody that's returned from Louisiana/Mississippi, Spencer, he's the man.
Okay.
Out of all my sons that have gone to Peru, Riley is awesome. He's my favorite.
Wow.
So, there you go.
You really put yourself out there.
I know.
By saying that, you got a target now because
it's bold, isn't it?
It's bold. It's bold.
Now let's just hope that none of my other boys go to any of those states or countries.
There might be a little competition.
It might be. I might have to change my tune.
Robert Arvey, he put on here. First he said, have you ever been kicked out of? Well, no, I better not. So I don't know what that was about.
Probably. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right, well, moving on. He said, why haven't you produced any girls?
I still think that's a wives' tale, man. I know science says that it's all on the guy to whatever. And I think Julie wanted a lot of boys.
So just to clarify, all 6 of your children are boys.
All of them. I do have a daughter-in-law, but my grandchild is a boy as well. So I can blame that on me again.
Yes, it's your fault. No, that's awesome. On that note, I mean, you obviously don't have experience, raising girls, but raising 6 boys has got to be a crazy experience.
It's fun. They're all good. I mean, I went through what they're going through, and so I mean, I feel for them. But now I was thinking, I kind of get jealous of people with girls, or guys with girls, and I've noticed that boys, they gravitate to being mama's boys. All my boys are mama's boys. Girls gravitate to being daddy's girls. Well, I don't got any girls, and so I got no one. It's everybody against me. Yeah, they like to talk a game. Well, Julie doesn't have any girls on her side. Well, she's got all the boys. I got nobody as far as that stuff goes.
That's a good point, man. That's interesting.
So you're lucky. You're lucky.
Yes, I am. It is awesome being a dad, isn't it?
Oh, it is fun.
Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight, he commented on here. He said, Dr. Pepper and slam ball all summer.
All summer long. That was fun, Kevin. He was a good player, man. Or probably still is. I don't know. But yeah, slam ball.
What's slam ball?
Do you remember that? Slam ball, remember at our house we had we were one of the first people in the neighborhood really to have the basketball backboard that would go up and down.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to say that we didn't lower it at all, but we did. And we call it slam ball or jam ball or whatever. I remember jam ball, slam ball.
Yeah.
Where we'd get a few guys and we would play 2 or 3 on 3, and that was fun because we could alley-oop, and we felt like those because we were throwing it down. I should say I didn't have the hoops that or the hops rather as Kevin did. Or Kevin was really good. Always beat me up, and Andy and all those guys. But it was fun. It was fun to pass them the ball. It made me feel good anyway.
No, man, I loved playing basketball growing up. That was something I spent a lot of my time doing with that hoop in the front yard.
Oh, yeah.
All the way up at 10 feet, dunking that thing constantly.
Of course, I'm sure other people had the same experience, but back when we didn't have a battle hoop in the front yard, we did have a lot of cement in the backyard, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we did have garbage cans. And so we played a lot of garbage hoop or whatever. What do we call it? Garbage ball.
Garbage ball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, some good times. Kevin, I remember Kevin. He was in our ward growing up in our church. And I remember Kevin, he played football in the high school at Mesa High. And he was really good. And I remember him calling me like I looked up to him because he's a big football player. And one time in the foyer, he came up to me and he's like, "Oh, hey, little Buff." He started calling me Little Buff was my little nickname. Buff. That was so cool when he called me that. I was like, wow, he's calling me Little Buff,
Yeah, that's funny. That's good, man.
So what if he remembers that? That's pretty cool.
I'll bet you he does.
Yeah, that was awesome,
he always a good guy.
Yeah, the influence we have on people we don't even know sometimes,
Right.
It's a pretty cool thing. Let's see. Sione thinks he knows everything about you already. I'm going to get into some of these. He probably does,
I used to almost live at his house.
Yeah, at the Foz.
That's funny.
9:44 a.m. Whoa. Just something happened from my phone there. Okay, Dave, I got some questions here for you.
Sure.
In no particular order, okay?
Right.
So tell me a little bit about your professional life. I know I think you started off after your mission. Where'd you go on your mission, first of all?
I went to the Dominican Republic, I was called to Honduras. And then when I was in the MPC, there was some civil unrest or whatever, and they called us, anybody that was going to be in there or go to that mission, they were going, or to that country, they pulled us in and they changed our mission call. So I got called to Santo Domingo East Mission. And then about a week later, a handful of us got called again, this time into the president's office there. And we got a mission call changed again and went to the West Mission. That's where I served.
So 3 mission calls.
Yeah. But I
Wow.
ended up in the Dominican Republic on the west side of, I guess, the west and southwest.
So tell me a little bit about that. Do you remember when you left to go on your mission, when you left on that plane and you flew to the Dominican Republic?
Oh, I remember it.
Do you? Share a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
about that.
Oh, it was scary. I was scared. I was excited. I knew that I was going to do just fine, but it was scary. I remember, I remember the way to get me from thinking about not knowing, or the fact that I didn't know what I was getting myself into, was I looked out the window and I saw the clouds, and it was just relaxing. It was fun. I felt like I wanted to jump at the clouds. And every time I get into a plane now, I look at the clouds from the other side, and it's relaxing. So, but it was scary. I was scary. I got there not knowing if anybody was going to meet me at the airport. We had a friend that was going to pick me up at the airport, and I got out there and nobody was there. Maybe 10 minutes passed and they showed up and we got in and they got me to the airport. So that was good. But yeah, just nervous, but it was fun.
And when you got off the plane there in the Dominican Republic, what were some of your first impressions?
Oh man, everything was moving fast. Everything was moving fast. What I really remember is the humidity kind of hit you out of nowhere. You go from air conditioned to humid, and it felt almost uncomfortable. But then you get used to that. You start sweating a little bit, and the air is blowing always. And it's not like in Arizona where when you sweat, if there is air that blows, it's hot and dusty. There it was clean and it felt good. But that's what I immediately remember. And then just how fast everybody was moving, trying to get a handful of us to the mission home.
Very cool. I have a similar experience. I served my mission in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and when I got off the plane, same thing. It was like a wet blanket.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe how sticky and wet I was. In fact, that first night, one of my memories was, just being wet, drenched in my white shirt and tie, and taking a shower and getting out and drying off, putting on my clothes, and then realizing I'm totally wet again. I'm like, is this how it's going to be for 2 years? I'm never going to be dry, and that's how it was in the beginning. I couldn't believe it. I got sent off out into the jungle area, and it was just so humid, and I was just wet all day long. My clothes never dried. Do you remember that at all?
I remember them. I think they dried. I just remember after riding bikes to areas, you would sit down and you'd I would anyway, I'd put my hands on my knees or whatever, and I'd wait for about 30 seconds and I'd lift up, and yes, everything was just pooling. My pants right there soaked through, and I loved it. I loved it because it was a clean sweat. I wish I know people don't like sweat, but man, when it's a clean sweat and then the air immediately kind of cools you down, I loved it. It's just so different than here.
Yeah. It took me a while to get used to. And then once I did, you don't realize it anymore until you come home. And I came home and I was like, my skin just so dry. Everything was just like a lizard all of a sudden, that dry skin.
I'll tell you, it was so pretty there. I mean, I didn't get into any jungles. I don't know if there's that jungle areas there, but we have the Caribbean Sea there, and that kind of landscape around it is pretty. And of course, the people, and you can attest to where you went. The people are fantastic. Once you decide to assimilate to their culture, instead of expecting them to change for you, then they become fantastic. It'd be fun.
Oh, definitely. I realized, there were some people, some Americans that were there that kind of would have a little attitude of, America's better, and this. I don't know what you call that, but a little bit of
pride.
Yeah, pride, definitely. But people would definitely took note of that, and it would rub them the wrong way, rightfully so, But if you came in and you loved their stuff, you loved soccer, you loved their food, their culture, oh, that was awesome. You were in,
Let me
Go
tell you
ahead.
this story. I thought just on that, I try and tell I tell my kids and I tell other kids that go on their missions the same thing, this story. And I don't know. I know that our cousin went to my same mission and her rules had changed. But the idea is this: is that when I was there, my first companion, in fact, before then, when we were in the mission home, the mission president's wife at the time gave us a little a talk thing, a speech or whatever, and she strongly suggested. Now it was only a suggestion, but she strongly suggested that we avoid any water or any, meaning the water that comes from the tap. We would drink purified water there, but don't drink any of the juices that they offer you because it's made with ice and that water that will make you sick. And I have no doubt that it did. But my first companion was very religious, excuse the pun, of doing that, right? Of staying away from it. And whatever, we got through it and stuff. But my second companion, after a few months, I got another companion in that area. And I still remember that day. First day I took him out, we went to a place and we sat down and you know, the people in the house, they knew us, so they knew that we weren't going to ask or didn't want any juice. And he kind of just got restless and started looking around. And finally he looked right at that lady and goes, "Where's my juice?" Like that, because he wasn't expecting, "Where's my juice?" And she looked at him and her eyes got big, her smile got big, and she goes, "I'll be right back." And she went and got juice, and that was the first time I had juice on the island. But man, what it did to her was awesome. And so from then on, we got juice and everyone. And you could feel the difference. You could feel the difference because now we weren't again expecting them to change to accommodate the Americans. We were now part of their culture and wanted to be like them and with them. Does that make any sense?
No, totally.
So once we did that, then everything went better, and it was just so much better. You know.
Yeah.
So I tell my kids to drink the juice.
Drink the juice. Yeah. Right. To some extent. I mean, if you got feces floating around in there, probably.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to be smart, but.
Yeah.
And I will say this: yes, I got sick, and I probably still am suffering a little bit, even post mission. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
So to me, it was worth it.
Oh, that's great. I won't go into some of these other stories that I've had like that, but that's fantastic, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
If you could give one piece of advice other than what you just gave to those who are preparing to leave on a mission or to go serve in another country, for example, just to go serve in general, right? What would that be?
Let go, forget yourself, and trust in the Lord, and just start moving, man. Get to work. Just start moving. A lot of times we get in our own way. Faith is all about letting go and letting God move us or direct us, I should say. But a lot of times we want to do what we think is best. And what's best for us is to just start moving, to get out and work and trust that the Lord is going to line everything else up. So that's what I would do. I would get out of your own head, trust the Lord, and start moving. That's my advice.
I think that's great advice.
Thank you.
I think that's great advice. And that's not only applies to your mission, right?
That's
for church.
For
yeah. I mean, that can go with schoolwork, with homework, with work, with working out, right? Just starting. And a lot of times is the hardest part. You know, in the church, we get callings, you know, where we have opportunities to serve at different capacities. And, you know, over the years, I've seen a lot of great examples of those who get a calling and they, what we call, magnify that calling, right? They take it upon themselves to magnify it. Then I've seen others who get a calling or an assignment and months will go by and they haven't done anything. And you finally follow up with them and they're like, well, I didn't know what to do. And so they didn't do anything. And the other person got the same calling and they said, well, I better figure out what the heck I'm doing. And they go and they start and they ask questions and they start doing and making mistakes sometimes, but they're trying, right? And so I see a huge difference in that. People that are just waiting to be told what to do, waiting for direction, waiting for the answers to come without taking any action at all. Right? It's like the person praying for help. Help me get a job. And they just sit around and they're waiting for that to just come knock on their door and the job to show up. As opposed to the guy that's going out to businesses and talking to everybody.
Doing something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. Good advice. Let's transition on a little bit. So after the mission, you get home. What do you do?
I got a job.
Where?
I initially got a job with Uncle Terry and Uncle Dale at their steel shop. I cleaned up and I did some things. I drove a lot for them, and I hated the hours. I had to be up at like 4:30 or be there at 4. I can't remember what it was. It felt super early. And I did. And then I went up to Terry and said, man, do you need me here that early? I mean, really? Because I'm not driving anywhere, and there's not much to clean up because it had already been cleaned up. And why don't I come a little bit later? So I started at 7 and left at 4 and did a lot of driving. It was all right. I really appreciate them. I mean, good, man. Really appreciate them offering that to me. But I was ready to leave. I was excited. I moved on to Franklin. It was Franklin Quest at the time. This is before the Covey merger. And I loved it. I loved the idea. It was day planning. It was time and life management is what they called it. And it was fun. I enjoyed the people I worked with and the hours that I had. And it made me feel real good.
No, you were awesome at that, man.
It was fun.
Oh, it was fun to go into the store and see you there and get organized. And it started off with the paper, right? And then it got into the Palm Pilots.
Yeah, I was an expert at one point.
Oh my goodness, technology was amazing. That was before iPhones. That was like pre-iPhone. Like we were getting there. We were getting close.
It was a big deal. I still remember carrying one of those things on my belt. I think back to carrying the big old phone that was big and then that thing and it was just as big and I thought, man, I've hit it, man. I've made it. Look at this. I got stuff on my belt and stuff. Oh my gosh.
The Zach, what's like Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell, the big old
man.
cell
phone. It's a big deal. I don't know if you remember Mom's phone, but I felt so, I don't know, so grown up when she allowed, because I was working there. I didn't have a phone yet, but she had a phone and it was about, it was about as thick as my head, and it went down like that. It was really cool. We used to play it like cell. So we'd play around, never even talking it because it cost money to dial and cost money to receive calls. And it was stupid.
Is that the one with the leather case on it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I remember that, man.
Talking about.
And you pulled out the antenna.
Yeah, she still might have it.
She might be using it, Mom.
Yeah.
No, I know she's onto an iPhone now. She's tech savvy now.
Well, she's all into that Facebook stuff.
I know. She's you know what? Mom is my #1 fan, I believe, on Facebook on my Olsen Bro page. Yeah. Like if she comments now, it says top fan or something on there.
Besides you and Mom, does anybody else in the family get on Facebook?
Let's see. Lainey's on there.
Is she?
Yeah. Kristen is more of an Instagram girl, but she'll get on there every once in a while.
I get on Instagram.
Yeah. I've started to. She's been telling me to work Instagram better. Ivy, our niece, she's an Instagram rock star.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's got thousands of followers. She does all sorts of stuff. Yeah, there's a few others on there, but no one's super active on Facebook.
Yeah. It got too political for me.
Yeah, it gets political. I use Facebook. That's a good way to connect with people. I get to see a lot of people, and Twitter. I basically use that for sports. That's my sports info and
Twitter is.
Yeah, Twitter. I get a lot of sports on Twitter and those kind of updates. Little politics on there too. Okay, let's see here. So after Franklin Covey, you worked there. Do you remember how many years you worked at Franklin?
I worked at Franklin for a number of years. I remember leaving Franklin to start doing Windows. And then you'd mentioned in one of your podcasts before, I mean, we were making $5 a day to split between three of us. And that's just not enough. And I swear that I drove around. It was a me or no, we were in that little stupid little truck that we all had to three big guys in a small little cab. But no, I ended up applying. I was told, I was actually called and asked to apply for a management position at Franklin, and so I did, and I was given that job. And so it paid a little bit more. The hours were even better, and so I left the Olsen brothers. Of course, you didn't mention this to anybody. I mean, you made it sound like you did so much work when we were cleaning windows, and just let the world know that I don't think there was a lower level of windows that my younger brother there ever did when I was around, ever.
You know what? My guys can relate. Anyone that's worked for me knows the same thing. Lower windows. I try to avoid those like the plague, man. David, you make it seem like you broke your back. Well, okay, you guys, if you listen to the other podcast, you know Kyle and I both had bad backs when we started window cleaning.
They were trying to break mine.
Dave was the only one that didn't have a bad back. And so, yeah, definitely he carried us for sure.
Anyway, so I left and I went back to Franklin. And then after that, I wanted more money, went to the University of Phoenix for a number of years. And after that, I went to Google. I actually, before doing the stuff, I did
Whitewater.
Oh gosh, man, I did a few things. Whitewater. I was a service advisor at Roberts.
Oh yeah.
Repair shop, and then now I'm working for a tooling company, High Torque, and we sell and we rent tools. And I'm over Arizona, so I travel to the mines and stuff. And usually they're in the outskirts. I love it. They're good people. Good people I get to work with, and it's fun to feel like an expert in something. But a lot of windshield time.
Yeah.
In Arizona, anyway.
A lot of time to listen to podcasts, potentially.
I listen to podcasts. I did before I got into podcasts, really, I listened to a lot of audiobooks. And a couple of years ago, when I actually got on, and I think it was Goodreads, I got on and I put every book that I read on there. I think I got 75 books that year.
Nice.
That I listened to, and some that I read at home.
No, that's great.
Yeah. So a lot of time to do that stuff.
Yeah. No, that's really good. So now you work, like you said, for High Torque, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And you work with all these big mine locations where they use big, heavy machinery and equipment and tools.
Yeah, anywhere that, not just in the mines, but in power plants and anything kind of associated with any of that, but anywhere that uses big nuts and bolts. It sounds, this is the part that throws a lot of people. It's actually quite fun, but it seems boring. Anywhere that they need to turn a nut or a bolt down, that is pretty big, not just your standard things that you'd find at home, but I mean, big things. Our tools will torque them. So we'll tighten them.
Gotcha. So you sell them or you can rent them too, right?
Yep.
That's cool. So you've been doing that for how many years now?
5 or 6 or 7. I don't know.
And that was that a pretty big change for you when that happened?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was exciting because of who I was asked by and who I get to work with now. Joe, my brother-in-law, just fantastic person I've always looked up to and I want to be like. You know, he's that guy that is, I mean, you mentioned that early on, or mom did, that that I like it when people succeed. I mean, he's genuinely that way. I mean, yeah, way better than I am. And he's just the most giving guy. Um, it's a pleasure to work for him and with him. And anyway, so yeah, it was a big change. It was a big change because now it's opened up to me setting up my own schedule, or me being beholden to my phone and to the customer. I've received calls on the weekends, and you just get out and do it. Not very often do I get those calls, but you do. Sometimes they're late at night. Sometimes, a lot of times, they're early in the morning. To these mines or these places that are out of town at 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning, you have to leave super early. And so at least it's not every day that I have to wake up at 4 or 4:30, but sometimes I do.
Gotcha.
But then it gives you a lot of freedom, gives you a lot of it's good.
That's awesome, man. So it's like you're your own boss, basically. Kind of, it's that feel, right, where it's on you. A lot of that responsibility. If you get up and go, if you go make a visit today or not, it's up to you. You nurture those leads, and yeah, no, that's great, man. Well, I'm proud of you, dude. I think you're doing awesome. Dave's always been great at what he does. Whatever he does 100%. And I remember when you went over and worked with the auto shop, the garage shop there, and just the night and day difference of things when Dave gets involved is very clear and easy to see. And yeah, that's why I've always wanted Dave to work with me and do something, because he's so good at it, and he does really well with it. Mom told me something yesterday too. She called me because when I put that on Facebook, Mom's so sweet, right?
Yeah.
She's always our biggest fan, right? She's so supportive. But she even called me this morning, like at 7 in the morning again, to talk about you, about just your goodness and things that she's remembering about you. Gosh, and now I just went blank. So maybe it doesn't exist. I just made that up. There was really nothing.
Yeah, maybe there's nothing. It's funny because I tease mom that she never comes and visits. She would never come to my house. And then lately, we were able to help the house in my neighborhood, right? She lives around the corner. It was awesome to have Lainey here, and sad that she's. But all of a sudden, Mom would be, at least her car would be in the neighborhood often. I'd always leave, and I'd see Mom's car parked at Lainey's house all the time. And now she gets into Queen Creek a lot more than I've ever known that she even got out of the house.
Yeah, no, I know. I live over here, and all of a sudden she has to go past you to get to Kristen, or to get to Lainey now, right? Kristen used to be there. Yeah, exactly. Interesting. Just kidding. No, Mom, we love you, Mom. She did say something about that. She said, and this is an interesting thing for David, because I wouldn't have typically thought this in all areas. She said David was super patient. She said, especially when she was I don't know if it was during the college years when she went back to college. I don't know what she was referencing, but when you were in your later teens, I don't know what that time frame was, but she said how patient you were with her when she's learning anything new. You're so patient with her.
First of all, if my wife and kids are watching this, laughing right now. They are. I mean, I'm patient in some things. I'm patient with certain people, I guess. I don't know. With Mom and I were in college. I mean, she went back to college right around the same time that I was beginning, and before my mission. And I think it was before my mission. I can't remember, but yeah, we were in a couple classes together, and it was a lot of fun. But don't let her fool you. The reason I passed those classes was because of her. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't my patience with her. It was her patience with me. She's given me that compliment before, and I thank her for it. But no, I got.
Uh-oh, you cut out, Dave.
Good grades in this class with me. She helped me. I guess she Oh no,
You kind of cut out there.
I did. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. So you said you had patience.
I had patience with certain things, like when you wouldn't get a question or something that I got. It was just me explaining how I got to my conclusion of that answer that she felt was a very patient approach. But in all honesty, she did a lot of work. And Mom, when she went to school, I don't know if you remember this, but she'd be at that table a lot longer doing work than I ever was in school. She was a very, very good student. And if she wanted to, she could go as far. I mean, she'd go further. She could get her MBA or her master's degree. She could be a doctor's student, and she would do very, very well. But she would work herself. I mean, that's what she does. She would work herself. And so, thank you, Mom. But you worked hard.
No, I agree with that. I can attest to that. Mom is amazing. The sacrifices that she's made for us. And for those who don't know, my mom went back to school later on in life and became a teacher. And she started teaching once all of us were kind of raised, and she had some more time. She went back and did that. And yeah, she's so awesome. She probably doesn't give herself.
You're breaking up on me, man.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can now.
Yeah, she doesn't. I'm sure doesn't give herself a ton of credit and in a lot of things, but she is so amazing.
I'm telling my kids right now to turn off the internet.
The other thing, since we got a little break right here, Dave, I don't know if you're tapping things over there.
No.
Any kind of clicks though get picked up. So I'm not sure.
I haven't been. I have it all off, but I don't know. My internet's kind of schizophrenic. But I plugged into this. I was telling you, I got this receiver the other day, or these satellite things. Yeah. And I have one up here, but I wasn't able to.
Losing you.
The computer didn't match up, and now it's on. Hang on for a second. Don't record this.
It's just
Alexa,
recording.
Make an announcement.
What's the announcement?
Will everybody please get off the internet?
Announce.
Technology, man. That's pretty awesome. See if you get any responses.
I got one down there scream. I got, Dad, I'm not off the internet. So, for my youngest.
Oh, this technology we're trying to do here, trying to utilize. Everybody and their dog is on the internet right now during this coronavirus. So, so hopefully the quality of this podcast works out okay, because I think there's a lot to be learned from David here in his example. All right, Dave, let's see here. Moving on. There's all sorts of fun stuff from our youth, and I'm going to throw one out there real quick here. Throw one out there.
Nice.
Tell me about the Speedo.
Is that from like Laney?
That's from me, man.
Huh? That's from you?
That's from me.
Oh, dude. Speedos are all in. What are you talking about? Even my kids wear when they're on the swim team here. Michael Phelps, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but nobody rocked the Speedo like you did, Dave.
At the diving team for a little bit, it stunk. Oh yeah, well, brother, yeah, man, that was their uniform, and they got this little tanny Speedo thing. I wore it well.
You did. No, you did. We had a video of David doing the dive on the dive team and wearing that Speedo. So that always we laughed at that point at the times whenever we reviewed that, and over the years whenever I've seen that. So when I think of Dave's youth, I remember the Speedo when you were young.
Yeah.
By the way, you say it was the uniform, but I got on the dive team and I had these big old baggy shorts that I wore.
Ryan, you wore hand-me-down Speedos. Don't lie, dude.
Oh,
Just
that
saying,
was the
dude.
bad.
It was kind of messed up.
Is that what that was? It was really
Yeah,
baggy,
so.
Dave. It was really baggy.
Thank you.
Can I tell you my experience on the dive team? I remember one meet that I got asked to be on the high dive competition.
Nice.
And I could barely jump off the high dive, right?
Big
And so
deal, man.
I think I did a straight jump. I may have done a dive, and I don't remember what my third one was. And guess what? I always see I usually don't tell that part of the story. I just say, hey, I got second place in a high dive competition on the team. And then I mentioned there was only 2 people in the high dive competition.
And you got third?
Yeah, I got third. I got
you
last
got third
place.
out of 2?
Yeah. It depends on how you look at it, man. I either got last place or second place. Oh, I lost Dave completely. Well, just in case we don't get him back on, we'll do a part 2 with David. And we'd love to bring on our brother Kyle because we want to debate a little sports with him in the future. But Dave's awesome. I've always looked up to him. He is my big brother, one of my 3 big brothers, right in the middle. And he's like we talked about earlier in the program. He is such a great, big brother. He's such a great inspiration. That's the guy you want to have in your corner. That's the guy you want to have in your group of friends. He's the one that makes you feel good about yourself always. You never hear David bragging. You don't hear him ever thinking he's better than somebody else, And when you share something good about yourself or you have some success in some area, he's not the guy that goes, well, I did this and he never tries to one up you or make you feel like you're insignificant or your accomplishment was insignificant in any way. And I think that's a huge attribute and a huge, skill or whatever it is that he has. And I want to be that way. And sometimes it's hard because we get prideful. And like I mentioned earlier, we think that because somebody else is good at something, that means we're automatically not good at something, or that we're not as good in general because somebody else is succeeding in a certain area, as opposed to just being happy for people. And that's what David is. He's genuinely happy for others. And I want to be that way. So, hey, thanks for tuning into the podcast today. Hopefully you liked it and got something from it. Hopefully the audio and maybe this video is worth posting and worth listening to. So stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. We'll try to get my brother David back on, as well as some others that I look up to. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider liking and subscribing, and also doing the same thing on the podcast channels. Thanks, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you later on.